When the email notification buzzed on my phone in the middle of a crowded cafeteria at Stanford University, my world tilted on its axis. Academic dismissal notice. It read, and in that moment, I knew my father's empire of expectations had finally come crashing down on me. I stared at the screen, the words blurring as students around me laughed and chatted, oblivious to the fact that Alex Harrington, the only son of tech billionaire Richard Harrington, was about to be kicked out of one of the most prestigious schools in the country. My GPA had tanked to a 1.8 after 3 straight semesters of missed assignments, skipped lectures, and half-hearted attempts at exams. It wasn't that I was stupid. I just couldn't focus. The pressure to be perfect, to be the straight heir who would one day take over Harrington Dynamics, had been crushing me for years. But the real reason, the one I buried so deep I could barely breathe around it, was the secret that made every mirror feel like an accusation. I was gay, and pretending otherwise was slowly killing me. My phone rang almost immediately. Dad's name flashed across the screen like a warning light. I stepped outside into the California sunshine, the quads stretching wide and green around me, and answered with a voice that sounded steadier than I felt. "Alex, what the hell is this?" he barked before I could speak. "The dean just called me." "Dismissal? After I donated another wing to the business school last year? You're making me look like a fool." "I know, Dad. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. You're cut off. No more allowance, no more credit cards, no more safety net. Figure it out, or come home and work in the mailroom until you learn discipline. And for God's sake, stop embarrassing the family name." The line went dead. I stood there, phone still pressed to my ear, the weight of the quad's towering palm trees suddenly feeling like they might crush me. My friends were already texting, "Party tonight to celebrate the end of the semester," as if any of them knew what real celebration felt like. I ignored them and started walking, no destination in mind, just the need to move before the panic swallowed me whole. That's when I saw him. The janitor was mopping the hallway outside the administration building, earbuds in, humming something low and steady. He was maybe 28, broad-shouldered in a gray uniform shirt that stretched across his chest, dark hair cropped short, and a quiet focus that made the whole noisy campus feel smaller around him. Marcus Reed, the name tag read. I'd seen him around for years, but never really noticed. Today, though, when he glanced up and caught me staring, something in his steady brown eyes shifted. He pulled out one earbud. "You okay, man?" His voice was calm, like he already knew the answer was no. I laughed, but it came out broken. "Not really. Just got kicked out. Dad's disowning me. The usual Tuesday." He set the mop against the wall and crossed his arms. "That sucks. Want a coffee? I've got a thermos in the cart. No judgment, just caffeine." I don't know why I said yes. Maybe because no one had offered me anything without expecting something in return for as long as I could remember. Maybe because his eyes didn't look away like they were afraid of what they might see. We sat on a low concrete wall outside the building, the sun warm on our backs, and for the first time in months, I told someone, anyone, the truth I'd been choking on. Not the whole truth, not yet. Just enough. That the grades weren't the problem. The pretending was. Marcus listened without interrupting, sipping his coffee like he had all the time in the world. When I finished, he nodded once. "Sounds like you've been carrying a lot alone." "I get that. Took me years to stop hiding who I am. Still do sometimes. But hiding never fixed anything. It just made the weight heavier." He didn't push. He didn't preach. He just handed me the thermos again and said, "If you need to talk more, I'm here most afternoons. Name's Marcus. And hey, failing a class doesn't make you a failure. But running from yourself? That'll break you faster than any dean's letter." I left that conversation lighter than I'd felt in years, even though nothing had changed. The dismissal was still real. The money was still gone. But for the first time, someone had looked at me and seen past the Harrington name. Someone had seen me. The next 2 weeks blurred into a strange new rhythm. I moved out of the luxury off-campus apartment Dad had paid for and into a cheap room above a coffee shop in Palo Alto, the kind of place where the shower ran cold after 3 minutes and the walls were thin enough to hear every neighbor's argument. I took a part-time job stocking shelves at the campus bookstore, minimum wage, no benefits, and a manager who didn't care whose son I was. It was humiliating at first. Then it became grounding. Marcus found me on my third shift, pushing a cart of textbooks through the stacks. He was there to clean the break room, but he lingered, helping me shelve the heavy boxes without being asked. "You're still here," he said, grinning. "Most guys in your position would have flown back to daddy's jet by now. Couldn't even if I wanted to. Credit cards canceled. Phone plan next week if I don't pay." I shrugged, trying to sound casual. Guess I'm learning what normal feels like. We started talking every day after that. Small things at first. My favorite professors, his little sister back in Oakland who wanted to be a nurse, the best taco truck on University Avenue. Then deeper. He told me about growing up in a strict Baptist home where being gay meant you were either fixed or forgotten. How he'd left at 18 with $200 in a duffel bag, slept on friends' couches, worked construction until his back gave out, then landed the janitor job because it came with health insurance and steady hours. "I was angry for a long time," he said one evening as we sat on the grass near the fountain, the campus lights flickering on around us. Angry at my parents, at God, at myself. Then one day, I realized the only person I was really punishing was me. So I stopped, started going to support group, got my GED at night, started lifting weights because it made me feel strong in a world that told me I was weak. Pride isn't loud parades for me. It's waking up every morning and choosing to be honest with the guy in the mirror. I listened and felt something crack open inside my chest. I told him about the nights I'd cried in my car after dates with girls Dad set up, about the panic attacks before every family dinner with a conversation always circled back to, "When are you going to settle down with a nice girl?" I told him I'd never kissed a man, never even said the words out loud to anyone until him. Marcus didn't flinch. He just reached over and squeezed my shoulder once, firm and brotherly. "You're braver than you think, Alex. Most people never get this far. They stay comfortable. You're choosing hard." That night, I went home and wrote my first honest journal entry in years. Not about grades or business plans, about fear and hope, and the way Marcus's laugh made the world feel a little less heavy. By the end of the month, I was back in class, community college this time, paying my own tuition with bookstore wages and a small scholarship I'd actually earned by writing an essay about privilege and perspective. Marcus helped me study, not by doing the work, but by sitting across from me at the library table and asking questions until the concepts clicked. He brought sandwiches on days I forgot to eat. He listened when I spiraled about Dad's latest email, demanding I come home and act like a man. One Friday, he invited me to his apartment after his shift. It was small, clean, filled with books and plants, and a single framed photo of him and his sister at her high school graduation. We cooked spaghetti together, bumping elbows in the tiny kitchen, laughing when I burned the garlic. After dinner, we sat on his secondhand couch watching an old documentary about civil rights. And somewhere between the second and third episode, our hands found each other on the cushion. Neither of us pulled away. "I like this," he said quietly. "You, us. No pressure. Just figuring it out." "Me too," I whispered. It was the closest I'd ever come to naming what was growing between us. The next morning, I woke up on his couch with a blanket tucked around me and Marcus already up making coffee. He handed me a mug and said, "You don't have to go back to that lonely room if you don't want to. Couch is yours as long as you need." I stayed, not because I had nowhere else to go, but because for the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged somewhere because of who I was, not what my last name could buy. The misunderstanding hit like a freight train 2 weeks later. My old roommate, Tyler, saw me leaving Marcus's building one morning and jumped to conclusions. By evening, the rumor had spread through our old friend group. Alex Harrington was slumming it with the janitor for attention. Tyler texted me a screenshot of a group chat where someone joked I was paying Marcus to pretend to like me. I confronted Tyler at a coffee shop near campus. "You don't know anything about him. I know he's a nobody cleaning toilets while you're throwing away a fortune," Tyler shot back. "Your dad's going to lose his mind. Fix this before it gets ugly." That night, Marcus found me pacing his living room, fists clenched. I told him everything. He listened, then surprised me by laughing softly. People like Tyler have never had a fight for anything real. Let them talk. The only opinion that matters is yours and mine. He stepped closer, cupped my face gently. "I'm not here for your money, Alex. Never was. I'm here because when you smile, the whole room gets brighter. Because you're kind, even when the world's been cruel to you. That's enough for me. We kissed then, soft, careful, like both of us were afraid the moment might break. It didn't. It felt like coming home. But the damage was done. Dad's private investigator had already been digging. 2 days later, he flew in unannounced and showed up at Marcus's door with a checkbook and a threat. $10,000 to walk away from my son. Take it, or I'll make sure you never work in this state again. Marcus looked at the check, then at me standing behind him. He tore it in half. Your son's worth more than any number you can write. Dad turned to me, eyes cold. You're choosing this? A janitor over your family? Over everything I built for you? I'm choosing me, I said, voice shaking but steady. For the first time, the weeks that followed were the hardest. Dad cut every tie, trust fund, health insurance, even the family lawyer who'd handled my affairs since I was 12. Campus security was told to watch for me near the main buildings. Old friends stopped answering texts. I lost the bookstore job when the manager said corporate didn't want drama. I hit bottom in Marcus's apartment one rainy Tuesday, curled on the couch sobbing because I couldn't pay next month's rent and the community college had just emailed about unpaid tuition. Marcus sat beside me, rubbing my back in slow circles. You're not alone anymore, he whispered. We'll figure it out. Together. That's what pride looks like, standing up even when your knees are shaking. He called in favors. His sister's friend managed a cafe that needed a barista. I started the next day, learning to make lattes and smile at strangers while my hands still trembled. Marcus worked extra shifts so I could study. Nights we talked until sunrise, about the future, about maybe applying to Stanford again next year on merit, about what kind of life we wanted to build that had nothing to do with money and everything to do with honesty. One night, I came home to find him waiting with takeout and a small wrap box. Inside was a simple silver bracelet engraved with one word, proud. Wear it when you're ready, he said. No rush. But you are, Alex. You really are. 6 months later, I stood in the registrar's office at Stanford with an acceptance letter in my hand. This time earned on a full academic scholarship and a glowing recommendation from my community college advisor. Marcus waited outside on the same low wall where we'd first talked, wearing his uniform but smiling like he owned the whole campus. I walked over and took his hand right there in the sunlight, no longer caring who saw. I did it, I said. We did it. He pulled me into a hug, strong and warm and real. You did it. I just reminded you who you were. We walked across the quad together, past the same cafeteria where my nightmare had begun. Students glanced our way, some surprised, some smiling. For the first time, the stares didn't burn. They felt like proof I was finally living in my own skin. Dad still hadn't called. Maybe he never would. But I had a job I liked, classes I was excited for, and a man who loved me for the parts of me I used to hide. That was richer than any inheritance. True or false? Authentic pride can only be earned through struggle, never inherited through wealth or family name.